Hello and welcome. Thank you for watching. This is a research presentation accepted for the online thread of TESOL's 2023 International Conference on Advancing Collaboration, Exchanges Among Scholars, Instructors, and Students. My name is Maria Lisak, and I'm a lifetime member of TESOL and teach at a university in the southwestern part of South Korea. I would like to express my thanks to the volunteers of TESOL for making this hybrid conference possible, especially as I have mobility issues and participating in a face-to-face conference only would have prohibited me from participating. I additionally thank the city of Gwangju in South Korea, where I have lived and worked for 20 years. Its historical legacy of engaging outsiders and exiles into the active engagement of the itinerant scholar, which I feel relate to me as well as resonates with our ELT community of the world. I'm also grateful to Chosun University, where this presentation is recorded from, for its over 70 years of support of educational opportunities in the Gwangju community. While you can read the abstract online, I share it here as well to get us focused. This presentation is titled Collab in Times of Anxiety. The focus is on Korean students rebuilding connections in face-to-face team assignments. The abstract begins by asking, when there's no escape from people, how can everyone participate comfortably despite students describing anxiety about working with real people instead of Zoom screens? Late 2022 saw institutionally encouraged face-to-face classes return as the learning norm. However, learners expressed high levels of anxiety regarding face-to-face classes. To cope with this, myself, as the teacher practitioner, conducted regular check-ins regarding student-reported anxiety about their learning. Thinking of the face-to-face class as a new learning environment, I walked through collaborative scaffolding to help learners engage despite discomfort and nervousness. Today, I'm going to share how I reworked Emlo, Silver, Sharon Belinsky, and Jordan's collaborative learning processes in a new learning environment into their physical classroom after 2 years of online Zoom classrooms. Today, due to time constraints, I will focus on reviewing the inspirational study and how I've analyzed my own teaching practices through its instructional lens. The conference's topic of collaboration was challenging for me. I do collaboration with my students and they collaborate with each other, but I call it group work or I call it team building. This conference pushed me to research what actually was collaboration. How is it different from cooperation? This research rabbit hole led me to the following study, which then acted as a kind of litmus test to my already established practices of collaboration. It was especially helpful to deal with my students' reports about being nervous to engage with people in face-to-face situations by reconceiving my face-to-face classroom in COVID recovery times as a new learning environment. So today I'll introduce Himelo Silver's Understanding Collaborative Learning Processes in a New Learning Environment by giving details about its collaborative steps, tools, and modes. Time is too short to share about their framework and coding, which I also found important and helpful. Instead, I will share how this study helped me to analyze my own teaching to understand how I was scaffolding collaboration. I found that the collaboration process I fostered to deal with anxiety drew on standardized language practice techniques like think, pair, share, but comparing to Himelo Silver's tools and steps to mine has helped me to better understand how to scaffold learners based on their behaviors, interactions, and self-reported feelings. I will end by sharing references and contact information in case you'd like to continue to engage with me on this topic. The study that will be reviewed, as mentioned, is Emlo Silver's, Charan Belinsky and Jordan's 2008 Understanding Collaborative Learning Process in New Learning Environments. This was published in Instructional Science, and you can find this on the web without a paywall. This study has a robust collaborative process, scaffolding an online course. It discusses the collaborative and individual tools learners used in the course, the activity steps and modalities planned and implemented, and the researchers' codes identifying specific aspects of collaboration. The study's abstract says, to examine how different aspects of discourse relate to each other, as well as to the tools being used in collaborative learning process, it is important to understand how collaborative knowledge building unfolds and how these processes are mediated. This requires going beyond coding, individual speech acts, the use of chronologically ordered representations of discourse and tool-related activity, or CODTRA, diagrams is one way of achieving this understanding. We use a study contrasting cases of more and less successful groups using the Stellar learning environment. Stellar is an online integrated PBL environment for pre-service teachers, containing learning science hypermedia, a library of video cases, and online personal and collaborative spaces. Our analyses suggest that an important locus of differences is how students use resources and engage in different kinds of metacognitive talk and knowledge, transforming activities, sometimes to the group's detriment. This study is about collaboration, process of collaboration, and looking at online environments as new, which, although is now old after Zoom and COVID has changed that. Let's next talk about the tools in the study. There were individual tools such as a personal notebook that the students used to conduct preliminary problem analysis, keep notes on their research, provide an explanation of their group product, and reflect on their learning experience. Then there were collaborative tools, including the Stellar whiteboard and threaded discussion. The whiteboard served as an editable solution space where students could post and edit their solution proposals during and after discussions. It was also a space where other students and the facilitator could provide feedback and ask questions. So here we have the Stellar whiteboard, and it's a typical kind of threaded discussion, but over here we have some voting elements that they can vote on each other's proposals. The next slide shows the activity steps of the collaborative process with the tools and modes of each. For example, step 1 is for the students to study a video case, which is done individually in an online space. And then step 3, to view other students' proposals, which is a collaborative process, and that's done online. These steps helped me to look at what I was doing with my own students in terms of classwork and homework. So I asked myself, what was I scaffolding? What individual tools was I requiring of them? What collaborative tools were we using? What collaborative steps were they taking? And I coded the lessons for language production justification as well. However, I will not be covering that in this presentation. My teaching context details include late 22 saw me have to go face-to-face. And this was after the previous years of COVID restrictions. So 2020 was totally online and Zoom. In 2021, it was hybrid. Some of my students actually came to class and we conducted simultaneous Zoom and face-to-face class. And then spring 2022, I let my students choose what kind of class they wanted month by month. And those classes turned into either only online or only hybrid. And then fall, my university mandated that we needed to go fully face-to-face, except for extraordinary circumstances. I have 91 different Korean university students taking mandatory content courses for their major, and this is taught only in English. And these learners at the end of the semester, I asked them to do some reflection. And one of the questions that I asked them was what your favorite kind of activity during face-to-face classes was and why. Nearly all the students report group, team, or partner activities as their favorite. And here in the word cloud, you can see some of the words that they use to describe that. The next most popular thing was speaking, presentation, or talking, which I didn't code initially as being collaborative. However, after reviewing the study and seeing that this type of work was considered collaborative, I actually went back and recoded my own results. A few students felt that student-teacher interaction was especially helpful to get immediate feedback. Once again, this is something I wouldn't have initially has coded as collaborative. However, the way that these interviews and these feedback are given, it is a conversation. So the students are not just listening, they're able to ask questions and be able to follow up and understand more specifically translingually. I also ask a question about what do they think was their worst work of the semester. And of the 91 students, only 6 students reported that a particular group work was their worst work, not groups overall, just a particular group of one of the many that we did. Now, I also conducted several face-to-face check-ins with students about anxiety levels, but at the midterm and the final, I did conduct a Likert scale to find out about their comfort level regarding face-to-face comfort in general, and then just if they're comfortable being around people. Some students might be more introverted, things like that. So we can see that from the midterm to the final, that while the increase is not substantial, people did feel more comfortable. In terms of my teaching, I'm a constructivism kind of person. Vygotsky's kind of give them what they want when they need it is my approach. Instructional methods that I used to support collaboration were typically think, pair, share, and group discussion. Additionally, peer review was reworked into more think, pair, share activities. So in looking at my semester of lesson plans, I teach about 45 lesson plans, and 17 were a collaboration with either the teacher, partner, or group. My goal for collaborative work was 33% of in-class activities to be collaborative. However, it actually worked out to be about 38%. But if I take out my teacher to student interviews, that drops down to 27%. But if I actually include class sharing as like what I label presentation, it actually shoots up my collaboration of in-class activities as being about 44%. So we can see that by changing our definitions of what is collaborative here, just with my own semester, I have three very different viewpoints I can look at this. To reiterate some of the findings, the end of terms reflection showed that learners were tapping into the positive aspects of working with others. And I triangulated these reflections with questions about what they thought was their worst work of the semester. I kept statistics on the responses given, the different codes that I gave them for the type of collaboration or collaborative language they were using, and put those into different categories, which I've shared with you here, and also talking about their anxiety ratings. To review the steps that I actually do for my collaborative process, that was inspired for me to outline like the new environment study. The first thing that my students would do is actually homework. So they would do that by themselves. They would do some research. They would have been given some sort of web quest or question that they needed to answer. And then the other part of their individual homework was to either write an opinion, a response, an analysis, or find those elements that they needed for a web quest. Then they would come to our first hour of class, and this would be a collaborative aspect where the students would share whatever they had prepared from their homework, and they would speak and listen to each other. This couldn't be asking one student to just share what they found. It could be small groups where everyone shares, or just sharing with a partner. That was a mixture of different approaches. The next step was what I call high collaborative. So this was an in-class activity where the students actually had to interact with that homework information and that think, pair, share in a new way. So taking the information from homework, taking the new information they probably have gotten from their groups or their partner, they then have a new task or activity that they must complete with their group or partner. The next step is a collaborative step as well, but this is a performance step that typically I had coded as kind of individual, because students usually are asked to present individually. However, using how Humelo Silver's study listed their presentations as a type of collaboration. So sometimes the students would present to the class, other times they would just present to me. So dealing with some of the different anxiety issues, not letting them get left behind, they would have a chance to share what they talked about individually, or to have a group representative come to the front to present on their behalf. Step 6 was individual or collaborative. I mixed this up throughout the semester. So this was an in-class activity where the students were able to take what we've studied for the week and revise it, or turn it into a graphic meeting, maybe an infographic, maybe a poster. They could do some drawing, so they could maybe mind map some of the key words that they picked up throughout this process, or it might be to extend their answers into something more thoughtful. And this was usually done individually, or sometimes in class, they would be able to do this like by hand writing or hand drawing in a collaborative way. Then there was another individual aspect where the students would read either as in class time or as homework. And this would be about my feedback to them. And this would be focused correction. So depending on the time left in our in class, this may be in class given, or if it's not in class, then I make a small video and I go over general errors and mistakes with students for them to be able to see their mistakes or the mistakes that the groups are making overall. In terms of my next steps of this study, is I have put in an abstract for Seoul Nationals ICR in October, and this will deal with some of the specific lesson plans of this collaborative process I've outlined here. Additionally, I have sent an abstract to JALT that will follow up on how I'm kind of making my own grounded theory by taking Himelo Silver's collaborative process, taking standardized language learning practices with perhaps maybe trauma-informed practices, and combining the three of those into a collaborative list in an activity system for learners to have equitable practices to deal with different emotional and motivational needs. And my next step after this would be to go on to address some of the other issues that my class has regarding difference, ghosting, slackerism, and dissension. Thank you so much for listening today. I can be reached at kwangjumaria@yahoo.com. And please check out this link to this study. It's free, it's not behind a paywall, and I think that you'll be able to walk away with some real deliverables for your learning space. Thanks again.